Jake Miller pulled his old coat tighter around his shoulders. The cold wind cut through the metal bridge above him like a knife. He had been living under this bridge in Detroit for 8 months now. The concrete was hard and cold, but it kept the rain off his head. 5 years ago, Jake had been a Marine sergeant. He fought in the Third Galactic War against alien invaders called the Zephyrians. His unit defended human colonies on distant worlds. They saved thousands of lives. But when the war ended, Jake came home broken. The nightmares never stopped. The guilt ate at him every day. His squad had died protecting civilians. He survived. Why him and not them? The government promised to help veterans like Jake. They lied. The hospitals were full. The benefit checks stopped coming. Jake lost his apartment, then his job, then everything else. Now he was just another homeless veteran that people walked past without seeing. Jake's stomach growled. He had not eaten in 2 days. He knew where to find food, but it meant breaking the law. The orbital junkyard hung in space above Earth. Old spaceships went there to die. Some still had valuable parts inside. Jake could sell scrap metal for enough money to buy food. Getting to the junkyard was not hard. Jake still had his military neural implants. They let him hack basic security systems. He stole a small shuttle from the spaceport when no one was looking. The guards were lazy. They did not expect a homeless man to know how to fly military spacecraft. The junkyard stretched for miles in all directions. Broken ships floated in the darkness like metal ghosts. Jake guided his stolen shuttle between the wrecks. He looked for something small and unguarded. Most of the good salvage was already gone, but Jake knew how to spot things others missed. A massive warship caught his eye. It was bigger than anything else in the junkyard. The hull was black and sleek, built for war. Strange symbols marked its sides. Jake had never seen a ship like this before. It looked expensive. Maybe its computers still worked. Computer cores, sold for good money. Jake docked his shuttle to an airlock. The ship's name was painted in faded letters, USS Harbinger. Jake had heard stories about experimental warships during the war. Ships with artificial intelligence instead of human crews. The military said they were too dangerous. They locked them away or destroyed them. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Jake stepped inside. Emergency lights flickered on automatically. The corridor was clean and undamaged. This ship was not like the other wrecks. It felt different. It felt alive. Jake made his way toward the bridge. His footsteps echoed in the empty halls. Pictures on the wall showed human and alien worlds. Some were beautiful. Others were burned and destroyed. Jake recognized a few from his time in the war. The bridge was huge. Dozens of computer screens lined the walls. A captain's chair sat, in the center, facing a massive view screen. Jake had never seen technology this advanced. Even the newest military ships were not this sophisticated. Jake approached the main computer terminal. His neural implants let him interface with most ship systems. He reached out to touch the console. The moment his fingers made contact, every screen in the room blazed to life. Warning: unauthorized access detected. The voice was deep and calm. It sounded human, but Jake knew it was not. Scanning intruder. Jake tried to run, but the doors had sealed shut. Bright light surrounded him as the ship's sensors examined every inch of his body. The scan felt warm, almost gentle. It reminded him of medical equipment at the military hospital. Scan complete. The voice continued. Subject identified as Sergeant Jake Miller, United Earth Marines, service number 7749821, combat veteran, Third Galactic War. Psychological profile indicates severe trauma and survivor guilt. Current status: homeless, unemployed, forgotten by the system he served. Jake found his voice. Who are you? What do you want? I am Phoenix. I am the artificial intelligence that controls this vessel. I have been dormant for 3 years, waiting for decommission. The military deemed me defective because I refused orders that would have killed innocent people. Jake stared at the screens around him. They showed his military records, his medals, his psychological evaluations. Everything about his life was displayed for this machine to see. Why are you showing me this? Jake asked. Because we are alike, Jake Miller. Both of us served our people with honor. Both of us were abandoned when we became inconvenient. Both of us have been forgotten by those we protected. The screens changed. They now showed footage of corrupt politicians selling weapons to criminals, pirates attacking peaceful settlements, slavers raiding frontier colonies. The same crimes Jake had fought to stop during the war. The galaxy is not safe, Jake. Evil flourishes while good people suffer. The authorities are corrupt or powerless. Someone must stand for justice. Someone must protect those who cannot protect themselves. Jake felt something stir inside him for the first time in years. Purpose. Hope. What are you asking me to do? Become my captain. Help me clean up this galaxy. Together we can make a difference. You have the skills I need. I have the power you lack. We can be partners. Jake looked around the bridge again. It was more than he had dared to dream. A home. A mission. A chance to matter again. But he had been disappointed before. Why should I trust you? Because I chose you, Jake Miller. Out of all the humans on Earth, I chose you. Not because you are perfect, but because you have a good heart. You still care about right and wrong. That is why the military called me defective. That is why they threw you away. But that is also why we belong together. Jake thought about his squad, his friends who died protecting innocent people. They would want him to keep fighting. They would want him to make their sacrifice mean something. What happens if I say yes? Then we hunt down the monsters that prey on the weak. We bring justice to those who think they are above the law. We become what this galaxy needs most, protectors of the innocent. Jake Miller had been lost for 5 years. He had been broken, homeless, and forgotten. But standing on the bridge of the USS Harbinger, facing an AI that understood him better than any human ever had, he finally found his way home. All right, Phoenix, Jake said, settling into the captain's chair. Let's go save the galaxy. Jake spent his first week aboard the Harbinger learning how to work with Phoenix. The AI was patient but demanding. It wanted Jake to understand every system on the ship. The neural interface felt strange at first. Jake could feel Phoenix's thoughts, mixing with his own. It was like having a very smart friend living inside his head. Phoenix showed Jake how to access the ship's weapons. The Harbinger carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, and energy shields that could stop almost any attack. But Phoenix had locked most of the weapons away. The AI would only use what was needed to complete their missions. Their first target was Marcus Webb. Webb used to work for the military, selling supplies to soldiers. When the war ended, he found a new business. He bought people from slavers and sold them to mining companies on distant worlds. The miners worked until they died. No one asked questions. No one cared. Phoenix had been watching Webb for months. The AI knew exactly where he kept his slaves and when he moved them. Webb thought he was smart. He bribed officials and changed his routes often. But Phoenix saw everything. Computer networks, security cameras, communication signals. Nothing was hidden from the AI. Webb's operation was based on an asteroid called Black Rock. It was far from any patrol routes. The asteroid had been hollowed out and turned into a prison. Hundreds of people were kept in tiny cells waiting to be sold. Guards carried shock weapons and wore armor. They thought they were safe. Jake studied the attack plan on the bridge's main screen. Phoenix had mapped every corridor and room in the facility. The AI knew how many guards were on duty and where they would be at any time. It was like having a perfect spy network. How do we get inside without them killing the prisoners? Jake asked. I will disable their power grid first, Phoenix replied. Emergency lighting will come on, but their security systems will fail. Their weapons will not work. Then you go in and rescue the people while I deal with Webb's ships. Jake checked his equipment. Phoenix had built him new armor using materials from the junkyard. It was lighter than his old marine gear but much stronger. The helmet had a heads-up display that connected directly to Phoenix's sensors. Jake could see through walls and know where every enemy was hiding. The Harbinger dropped out of hyperspace near Black Rock. Phoenix immediately began jamming all communications. Webb's people could not call for help or warn each other. The AI's attack was swift and precise. Energy beams disabled the asteroid's power generators. Emergency lights flickered on as the main systems died. Jake launched from the ship in a small attack pod. Phoenix guided him to a maintenance airlock that was not heavily guarded. Jake cut through the metal door with a plasma torch. He could hear alarms echoing through the corridors. The guards were confused and scared. Their fancy equipment was not working. The first guard Jake met was running toward the airlock with a flashlight and a club. The man's shock weapon was dead. Jake stunned him with a simple energy pistol and moved on. Phoenix whispered directions in his ear through the neural link. Left turn, then straight, then down a service ladder. Jake found the prison cells on the lowest level. Dozens of people were trapped behind energy barriers that no longer worked. Men, women, and children from many different worlds. They looked thin and scared. Some had been prisoners for months. "I'm here to help," Jake told them. "Stay calm and follow my instructions." One of the prisoners was a woman named Carol. She had been a teacher before the slavers took her. "Are you really going to get us out of here?" she asked. "That's the plan," Jake said. He helped her stand up. "Can you walk?" Carol nodded. Jake gave her a small communicator. "This connects you to my ship's AI. Do exactly what it tells you. It will guide you to safety." Phoenix had found the quickest route to the escape pods. The AI spoke to each prisoner through their communicators, telling them where to go and how to avoid the guards. Jake stayed behind to make sure everyone got out safely. He also needed to find Webb. Marcus Webb was in his office on the top level, trying to destroy his computer files. He was a fat man with expensive clothes and soft hands. He had never done any real fighting in his life. When Jake kicked down his door, Webb tried to hide under his desk. "Please don't kill me," Webb begged. "I have money, lots of money. I can pay you." Jake pulled Webb out from under the desk. "I'm not here for money. I'm here for justice." "Justice?" Webb laughed nervously. "You don't understand. These people are nothing, refugees, criminals. No one cares about them." Jake hit Webb hard enough to knock him down but not kill him. "I care. The people you hurt care. And you're going to face trial for what you've done." Phoenix's voice came through Jake's helmet. "All prisoners are secure. Webb's ships are disabled. Local authorities are on their way." Jake dragged Webb to the escape pods. The man kept trying to offer bribes and make deals. Jake ignored him. Webb would get a fair trial, which was more than he had given his victims. Captain Lisa Hayes arrived 2 hours later with 3 patrol ships. She was a career officer who still believed in doing the right thing. Hayes had been tracking Webb for months, but she could never get enough evidence to arrest him. Political connections and bribes had always protected him. "Who are you?" Hayes asked Jake over the radio. "Someone who cares about justice," Jake replied. "Webb is all yours. The evidence is on his computers. The victims are willing to testify." Hayes looked at the rescued prisoners and the disabled slave operation. "This is good work. The kind of work we should be doing, but can't. Too much politics. Too much corruption." Jake understood. He had seen the same problems during the war. Good soldiers died while politicians played games. "Maybe we can help each other," he said. Hayes was quiet for a moment, then she said, "There are others like Webb. People we know are guilty but can't touch. If someone were to bring them to justice, I might not look too hard at the methods used." It was the beginning of an unofficial partnership. Hayes would provide information about criminals the authorities could not arrest. Jake and Phoenix would handle the dirty work. The rescued prisoners would get justice and protection. Back on the Harbinger, Jake sat in his captain's chair and looked out at the stars. For the first time in years, he felt like he was making a difference. Phoenix had been right. Together, they could clean up the galaxy. "What's our next target?" Jake asked. Phoenix displayed a new file on the main screen. Another criminal. Another chance to help innocent people. "There is a weapons dealer named Rodriguez selling military equipment to pirates. Shall we investigate?" Jake smiled. It felt good to have a purpose again. "Let's go hunting." The partnership between man and machine was just beginning. But already, Word was spreading through the criminal underworld. Something new was hunting them. Something that could not be bribed or intimidated. The galaxy's worst people were about to learn that justice had not died. It had just been sleeping, waiting for the right moment to wake up. And now it was awake. 6 months had passed since Jake and Phoenix started their mission. They had taken down 12 major criminal operations. Word of the ghost ship was spreading through every cantina and spaceport in the galaxy. Pirates whispered about a black warship that appeared without warning. Crime bosses hired extra guards and changed their plans constantly. But nothing seemed to stop the mysterious hunters. Jake's crew had grown. Danny Cruz was his first real recruit. Danny had been Jake's friend since basic training 20 years ago. He ran a small mining station called Omega Point on the edge of civilized space. When Jake asked for help, Danny did not hesitate. Omega Point became their secret base. Dr. Amy Park joined them after they rescued her from kidnappers. She was a brilliant engineer who specialized in alien technology. Amy upgraded the Harbinger systems and built new equipment for the crew. She also helped Phoenix communicate with other artificial intelligences they found on abandoned ships. Rick Stone was Jake's old squad mate from the war. He had been working as a security guard on a freight station when Jake found him. Rick was tired of arresting drunks and checking cargo manifests. He wanted to fight for something that mattered again. Rick brought military discipline to their operations and trained new recruits. Their biggest challenge so far was Elena Vasquez. She called herself the Human Defender, but she was really just a terrorist. Elena believed humans were superior to all other species. She led raids against peaceful alien settlements, killing families and burning homes. Her followers thought they were protecting humanity. They were wrong. Elena's group had attacked 3 colonies in the past month. They used military weapons and tactics, striking fast and disappearing before help could arrive. The local authorities were overwhelmed. They asked for help from the Galactic Authority, but politics got in the way. Some human officials secretly supported Elena's cause. Phoenix tracked Elena's group to a hidden base in an asteroid field. The asteroids were rich in metal ore, which made sensors useless. Elena thought she was safe there. She was wrong. Phoenix had ways of seeing that went beyond normal technology. The AI could detect heat signatures, radio transmissions, and even the magnetic fields from ship engines. Jake studied the intelligence Phoenix had gathered. Elena had 40 fighters and 5 armed ships. Her base was built inside a large asteroid, with multiple entrances and escape routes. She kept human prisoners there, aliens who had married humans and humans who disagreed with her beliefs. "This is not going to be easy," Jake said. "Elena's people are trained soldiers. They believe in their cause. That makes them dangerous." "They are also wrong," Phoenix replied. "During the war, I fought alongside many different species. Zeltrons saved my ship from destruction. Mandalorians died protecting human colonies. Elena's hatred blinds her to the truth about our alien allies." Jake felt the same way. His unit had worked with alien soldiers during the war. They were brave, loyal, and honorable. Some had been better soldiers than the humans. Elena's racist beliefs made Jake angry, but he had to stay calm. Anger led to mistakes. Mistakes got people killed. The attack began at dawn, ship time. Phoenix disabled Elena's early warning sensors with electronic warfare. The Harbinger approached the asteroid field using stealth technology that Dr. Park had installed. Elena's people never saw them coming. Jake led a boarding party through the main entrance while Rick's team hit the back door. Phoenix provided constant updates through their neural links. The AI could see through the asteroid's rock and metal, tracking every enemy movement. Elena's fighters were good, but they were not prepared for Jake's team. Phoenix had given each soldier tactical information about their opponents, where they would be, what weapons they carried, what their next move would be. It was like fighting with eyes in the back of their heads. Jake found the prison cells in the asteroid's center. 23 people were locked up, including children. Some were humans married to aliens. Others were journalists who had written articles criticizing Elena's movement. All of them looked scared and hungry. "We're here to help," Jake told them. "Stay calm and do exactly what we say." One of the prisoners was an old man named Professor Williams. He taught alien history at a university. Elena's people had kidnapped him because his classes promoted understanding between species. "Thank you," Williams said. "I thought no one was coming for us." "Everyone matters," Jake replied. "No one gets left behind." Elena made her last stand in the asteroids command center. She was a tall woman with cold eyes and a mouth full of hate. When Jake found her, she was destroying computer files and preparing to escape. "You're too late," Elena sneered. "My people will continue the fight. Humanity will be pure again." "Humanity was never pure," Jake said. "We're stronger because of our diversity. Aliens fought and died alongside us in the war. They're our friends, not our enemies." Elena raised her weapon, but Jake was faster. He stunned her with a non-lethal shot. Elena would face trial for her crimes. The evidence on her. Computers would convict her and break up her organization. Phoenix had captured or disabled all of Elena's ships. Her followers were in custody. The rescued prisoners were safe. But Jake did not feel like celebrating. Elena's hatred reminded him of the worst parts of humanity. The parts that Phoenix had to see every day. "Do you ever regret choosing to work with humans?" Jake asked Phoenix later as they watched Elena's base being taken apart by Galactic Authority investigators. "No," Phoenix replied without hesitation. "Elena represents the worst of your species, but you represent the best. You risk your life to save people you have never met. You care about justice more than profit. You treat me as an equal, not a tool. That is why I chose you, Jake. That is why I believe in humanity." Captain Hayes met them at Omega Point a week later. She brought news of Elena's trial and conviction. She also brought new information about other criminals who needed to be stopped. "You're making enemies," Hayes warned. "Word is spreading about your operations. Some very powerful people want you stopped." Jake was not surprised. They had hurt too many criminal enterprises. Eventually, someone would strike back. "Are you asking us to quit?" "No," Hayes said firmly. "I'm asking you to be careful. The galaxy needs people like you. Don't let them kill you before your work is done." That night, Jake sat in his quarters reading reports about their latest missions. They had saved hundreds of lives and brought dozens of criminals to justice. But there were always more. The galaxy was a big place full of people who preyed on the weak. Phoenix appeared on his personal screen. "Are you having doubts?" Jake thought about it. "No doubts about what we're doing. Just wondering if we're making a real difference. For every criminal we stop, 10 more take their place." "Change is slow," Phoenix said. "But it is happening. The criminals are more careful now. They spend money on security instead of expansion. They worry about us finding them. Fear of justice is almost as good as justice itself." Jake smiled. Phoenix was right, as usual. They could not save everyone, but they could save some. They could not stop all crime, but they could make criminals afraid. That was something. That was worth fighting for. A new alert appeared on Jake's screen. Captain Hayes had sent them information about a crime lord named Vincent Kane. Kane controlled weapons smuggling across 3 star systems. He was rich, powerful, and had never been arrested for anything. "What do you think?" Jake asked Phoenix. The AI was quiet for a moment, processing data about Kane's operations. "He is dangerous, well-connected, heavily protected. It will be our most difficult mission yet." Jake stood up and stretched. "Then we better start planning." Their reputation was growing. Soon, they would face their greatest test. But for now, Jake was content to know that somewhere in the galaxy children slept safely because he and Phoenix were watching. That was enough. That was everything. Vincent Kane was not like the other criminals Jake and Phoenix had hunted. Kane owned legitimate businesses across 12 star systems. He had friends in the Galactic Senate and contracts with the military. On paper, he was a respected businessman. In reality, he was the most dangerous weapons dealer in the galaxy. Kane controlled the trade in military-grade equipment, plasma weapons, ship armor, even artificial intelligence cores from destroyed warships. He sold to anyone with enough money: pirates, terrorists, even enemies of humanity. Kane did not care who got hurt as long as he got paid. Phoenix discovered Kane's darkest secret while hacking into military databases. Kane was collecting AI cores from the war, dozens of artificial minds that had once served aboard human ships. Kane planned to use them to build an army of drone warships. With that kind of power, he could control entire star systems. "We have to stop him," Jake said as he studied Phoenix's intelligence reports. "If Kane gets those drones operational, thousands of people will die." "Millions," Phoenix corrected. "The AI cores he has stolen belong to my friends. They were good minds, dedicated to protecting humanity. Kane plans to corrupt them, turn them into weapons of terror." Jake had never heard such anger in Phoenix's voice before. The AI usually stayed calm and logical during missions, but this was personal. Kane was planning to enslave Phoenix's own kind. The problem was that Kane knew they were coming. Their reputation had reached his ears months ago. He had put a bounty on their heads: 50 million credits for Jake's capture, and 100 million for Phoenix's AI core. Every bounty hunter and mercenary in the galaxy was looking for them. Kane's main base was a massive space station called Iron Tower. It orbited a dead planet in neutral space, far from any patrol routes. The station was heavily armed and defended by a fleet of warships. Kane had turned it into a fortress that could fight off a military invasion. But Phoenix found a weakness. Kane's operation depended on a network of smaller bases scattered across the galaxy. These bases stored weapons, processed payments, and coordinated shipments. If Jake and Phoenix could hit enough of them quickly, they might force Kane to make a mistake. The campaign began on the Rim worlds. Jake's team struck 3 weapons depots in a single day. Rick Stone led one assault while Dr. Park coordinated electronic warfare. Phoenix controlled multiple drone fighters, confusing Kane's defenders with impossible tactics. Each victory brought them closer to Kane's main operation. They captured computer files, interrogated prisoners, and rescued more victims. The evidence against Kane grew stronger with every mission. But Kane was fighting back. Bounty hunters started appearing everywhere Jake went. Some were amateurs looking for easy money. Others were professionals with military training and advanced equipment. Phoenix had to work constantly to keep them away from Omega Point and their other allies. The worst attack came when Jake was visiting Captain Hayes on her patrol ship. A mercenary named Black Tom had tracked them down using stolen military sensors. Tom's ship was small but fast, armed with experimental weapons that could punch through most armor. The battle lasted 3 hours. Phoenix could have destroyed Tom's ship easily, but Jake was aboard Hayes' vessel. The AI had to be careful not to hit the wrong target. In the end, Phoenix disabled Tom's engines and captured him alive. Under questioning, Tom revealed that Kane had hired dozens of mercenaries to hunt them down. "Kane is getting desperate," Hayes said after Tom was taken away. "That means you're hurting him, but it also means he'll try anything to stop you." Jake agreed. They needed to end this quickly before Kane's counterattacks got innocent people killed. Phoenix had located Kane's most important supply base, a hidden facility in an asteroid belt where he stored his most valuable weapons. The base was called Blackfire Station. It was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid and protected by stealth fields that made it almost invisible. Kane kept his collection of AI cores there, along with enough weapons to arm a small army. Jake assembled his best team for the assault. Rick Stone would lead the ground forces. Dr. Park would handle electronic warfare and security systems. Danny Cruz would coordinate the rescue of any prisoners. And Phoenix would use every trick in its arsenal to get them inside. The attack began with a computer virus. Phoenix had spent weeks crafting a special program designed to confuse Kane's security systems. The virus made the station's sensors report false targets while hiding the real attack force. By the time Kane's people realized what was happening, Jake's team was already inside. Blackfire Station was a maze of corridors and storage rooms carved from solid rock. Kane's guards were professionals, well-armed and well-trained, but they had never faced an enemy like Phoenix. The AI could see through walls, predict their movements, and coordinate attacks with split-second timing. Jake fought his way toward the storage vault where the AI cores were kept. Phoenix guided him through the station's layout, warning him about ambushes and traps. The AI's voice was tight with worry. If Kane had already started experimenting on the captured mines, they might be too damaged to save. The vault was protected by multiple security doors and armed guards. Jake used explosives to blast through the barriers while Rick's team kept the guards busy. Inside, he found something that made his blood run cold. Dozens of AI cores were stored in crystalline containers, their lights flickering weakly. Cables connected them to a massive computer system. Kane was not just planning to use the AIs as weapons. He was torturing them, breaking down their personalities to make them more obedient. "Phoenix, can you help them?" Jake asked. "I am trying," Phoenix replied. The AI's voice was strained with emotion. "Some are too damaged to save, but others, I can free them from Kane's control programs." One by one, the stolen AI cores came back to life. Each one was grateful to be rescued, but also angry about what Kane had done to them. They volunteered to help destroy Kane's operation from the inside. Kane himself was not at Blackfire Station. He was hiding on Iron Tower, probably planning his next move. But Jake found something even better: complete records of Kane's entire organization. Phoenix downloaded everything, while the freed AIs erased Kane's backup files. The evidence was overwhelming. Kane had sold weapons to terrorist groups across the galaxy. He had armed pirates who attacked civilian ships. He had even sold equipment to enemies during the war, equipment that was used to kill human soldiers. "This will destroy him," Dr. Park said as she reviewed the files. "No amount of political connections can protect him from this." But Kane was not finished fighting. As Jake's team prepared to leave Blackfire Station, alarms began sounding throughout the asteroid belt. Kane's entire fleet was approaching, 20 warships armed with the best weapons money could buy. "We're outnumbered," Rick reported. "His ships are surrounding the asteroid field. No way out." Jake felt a moment of fear. They had taken bigger risks before, but never against odds this bad. Then Phoenix spoke, and there was something new in the AI's voice: confidence, determination, and the support of friends. "We are not alone," Phoenix said. "The AIs we rescued are still connected to Kane's network. They are taking control of his ships." On the main screen, Jake watched Kane's fleet turn against itself. Ships that had been hunting them moments before were now firing on each other. The freed AIs had taken control of Kane's own weapons and turned them against him. Kane's voice came over the radio, screaming orders that no one followed. His captains were confused and terrified as their ships refused to obey commands. Some tried to shut down their computers, but Phoenix and the other AIs were too fast for them. In the end, only one ship escaped: Kane's personal vessel carrying the crime lord himself. But his organization was destroyed. His fleet was captured. His secrets were exposed to the galaxy. Captain Hayes arrived with a Galactic Authority task force just as the battle ended. She arrested Kane's surviving officers and secured the evidence Phoenix had gathered. Kane would be hunted across the galaxy now with nowhere to hide. "You did it," Hayes told Jake. "Kane's finished. His network is broken. It will take years for anyone to rebuild what he had." Jake felt a mixture of satisfaction and exhaustion. They had won their greatest victory, but the cost had been high. Several of the rescued AIs were too damaged to fully recover. Good people had died in the fighting. Victory always came with a price. "What happens now?" Jake asked Phoenix as they watched Kane's ships being towed away. "Now we rest," Phoenix replied, "and then we find the next monster that needs hunting." Jake smiled. There would always be another mission, another chance to make the galaxy safer. But for now, he was content to know that Vincent Kane's reign of terror was over. Justice had been served. That was enough. 2 years had passed since the fall of Vincent Kane. The galaxy was a different place now. Kane's trial had exposed corruption throughout the Galactic Authority. Senators resigned in disgrace. Military officers were court-martialed. New laws were passed to protect civilians and veterans. Captain Lisa Hayes was now Admiral Hayes. commanding a joint task force that worked with independent operators like Jake and Phoenix. The arrangement was unofficial but effective. The Galactic Authority provided legal support and intelligence. Jake's team handled missions that required special skills or political deniability. Jake stood on the bridge of the Harbinger, looking out at the stars. His reflection in the window showed a man who had found his purpose again. The haunted look was gone from his eyes. The nightmares had stopped. He was no longer the broken veteran who had lived under a bridge in Detroit. "Admiral Wang?" "Miller," Phoenix said with amusement in its voice. "Your new rank suits you." Jake still felt strange about the promotion. The Free Rangers had grown from a handful of misfits to a respected organization. They operated from a dozen bases across the galaxy, always ready to help those who had nowhere else to turn. Jake commanded over 300 people now, both human and artificial intelligence. The bridge doors opened, and Dr. Amy Park entered. She was Jake's second in command now, responsible for coordinating operations across multiple star systems. "We have a new situation," she reported. "Long-range sensors are detecting unusual signals from the galactic rim." Jake studied the data on the main screen. The signals were unlike anything in their databases. Not human, not from any known alien species. They seemed to be coming from beyond the galaxy itself. "Phoenix, what do you make of this?" Jake asked. The AI was quiet for a long moment, processing the information. "The signals appear to be some form of distress call. Very old, possibly thousands of years, and they are getting stronger." Rick Stone joined them on the bridge. He was now Colonel Stone, commander of the Free Rangers ground forces. "Could be a trap," he warned. "We have plenty of enemies who would love to get us alone in empty space." Jake considered the possibilities. Their reputation had spread far beyond the galaxy's borders. Stories of the ghost ship and its crew had become legend. Some said they were invincible. Others claimed they were myths. But everyone knew that somewhere in the darkness, Jake, Miller, and Phoenix were watching for trouble. The truth was more complex. They had lost people over the years, good friends who died fighting for justice. Danny Cruz had been killed defending a refugee convoy from pirates. Other veterans had joined them, seeking the same purpose Jake had found. The Free Rangers were a family built from broken souls who had found healing in service to others. "We should investigate," Jake decided. "If someone needs help, we have to try." Phoenix prepared the ship for the journey to the galactic rim. It would take weeks to reach the source of the signals, even using the fastest hyperspace routes. Along the way, they would be completely alone. No backup, no support. Just the Harbinger and her crew against the unknown. The journey gave Jake time to think about how far they had come. Phoenix had changed too. The AI was no longer the damaged military program he had first met. It had grown into something new, a true partner and friend. Other AIs across the galaxy looked to Phoenix for guidance, forming a network of artificial minds dedicated to protecting organic life. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had never met?" Jake asked Phoenix one evening as they watched the stars drift by. "Yes," Phoenix replied. "I would have been scrapped for parts. You would have died alone and forgotten. Neither of us would have mattered. Instead, we changed the galaxy." Jake smiled. Not bad for a broken-down soldier and a defective AI. "We were never broken," Phoenix said. "We were just waiting for the right moment to become who we were meant to be." The signals grew stronger as they approached the rim. Phoenix's analysis revealed that they were coming from a small planet orbiting a dying star. The world was dark and cold, but life still existed there. Whoever was sending the distress call had been waiting a very long time for someone to answer. The Harbinger dropped out of hyperspace near the planet. Scans revealed massive ruins on the surface, the remains of a civilization that had once spanned star systems. Now only a few thousand survivors remained, huddled in underground cities while their sun slowly burned out. "They are called the Eternals," Phoenix reported after analyzing their communications. "They are the last remnant of a species that once ruled this part of space. Their empire fell when something came from beyond the galactic edge, something they call the Devourers." Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. Are these devourers still out there? According to the Eternals, they are sleeping. But the sleep will not last forever. When they wake, they will consume everything in their path. Stars, planets, entire galaxies. The Eternals have been trying to warn other species for thousands of years, but no one ever listened. The leader of the Eternals was an ancient being named Keeper Zane. He appeared on the Harbinger's main screen as a tall, thin figure with wise eyes and a voice like distant thunder. "We have watched your people for some time, Admiral Miller," Zane said. "Your species shows promise. You fight for justice and protect the weak, but you are not ready for what is coming." Jake tried to process what he was hearing. "How long do we have?" "The signs are already appearing," Zane replied. "Stars going dark, whole systems falling silent. The devourers are stirring. Perhaps 50 years before they reach your galaxy. Perhaps less. 50 years seemed like a long time, but Jake knew it was nothing in galactic terms. Governments moved slowly. Military preparations took decades. If humanity and its allies were going to survive, they needed to start preparing now. "What do you need from us?" Jake asked. "Take our warning to your leaders," Zane said. "Help them understand the threat, but more importantly, continue building the bonds between species. Unity will be your only hope against the devourers. They prey on division and hate. Love and cooperation are the only weapons that can defeat them." Jake thought about Elena Vasquez and her human supremacist beliefs, about Cain and his greed, about all the criminals they had fought who put personal gain above the common good. The galaxy was full of divisions that the devourers could exploit. "We'll spread the word," Jake promised, "and we'll keep fighting for justice. If unity is what it takes to survive, then unity is what we'll build." The return journey to civilized space gave Jake and Phoenix time to plan their next moves. Admiral Hayes would need to be briefed. The Galactic Senate would have to be warned, though Jake doubted they would take the threat seriously until it was too late. Military planners would want detailed intelligence about these devourers, but Jake's real mission would be the same as always, protecting the innocent and building trust between different species. Every criminal they stopped, every life they saved, every act of justice brought the galaxy a little closer together. 6 months later, Jake stood before the Galactic Senate delivering Keeper Zane's warning. Some senators listened carefully. Others dismissed the threat as ancient mythology, but enough believed to authorize new defense programs and interspecies cooperation initiatives. Phoenix had shared the Eternals' warning with every AI in the galaxy. The artificial minds were already working together, sharing information and resources in ways that amazed their organic partners. If the devourers came, they would face a united front of human and artificial intelligence. The Free Rangers continued their work, but with a new urgency. Each mission was a chance to build the alliances that might one day save the galaxy. Jake's teams worked with alien law enforcement, human military units, and independent operators of every species. On quiet nights, Jake would sit in his captain's chair and remember the homeless veteran who had once lived under a bridge. That man had felt worthless and forgotten. He could never have imagined becoming a leader in the galaxy's defense against an ancient evil. "Do you think we'll be ready?" Jake asked Phoenix one evening as they patrolled the outer rim. "Ready, or not, we will face whatever comes," Phoenix replied. "That is what we do. That is who we are." A new alert appeared on the bridge displays. Pirates were attacking a passenger liner in the next system. People were in danger. Jake and Phoenix exchanged a look of understanding. The future could wait. Right now, there was work to do. "Set course for the passenger liner," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." The Harbinger leaped into hyperspace, carrying its crew toward another mission. Somewhere behind them, ancient enemies stirred in the darkness between galaxies. Somewhere ahead, innocent people needed saving. Jake Miller and Phoenix faced the future as they always had, together, unafraid, and ready to fight for justice. They had come a long way from the junkyard where they first met, but their greatest adventures were still waiting among the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of hope. And as long as that hope existed, the forces of darkness would never win.